Have you ever looked at an old photo and felt your heart sink just from a single gaze or a smile that once made the whole world go wild? From legendary mid-air splits and wild, tangled hair to blazing rock anthems, these rock gods of the 70s to 90s were once the lovers of our youth, the dreams of an entire generation. But time, as always, marched on. Some still burn like they never aged. Some have changed beyond recognition. And some are forever frozen in their youth. In this journey, 70 of the most beloved rock stars from the 70s to 90s come roaring back to life. It's a ride through memory, through roaring spotlights, and the hidden shadows behind the scenes that will leave you questioning your own eyes. Mick Jagger. More than just the lead singer of the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger once captivated the world with his wild charm, those iconic full lips, piercing eyes, and hypnotic dance moves whenever I Can't Get No Satisfaction played. Now at 81, he still gives it his all on stage. But time has left its mark, his skin deeply wrinkled and his frame noticeably frail. Paul McCartney, the golden boy of the Beatles. Paul McCartney won millions of hearts with his gentle voice and radiant, boyish looks, especially when singing Hey Jude. Today, at 82, he still performs tirelessly like a true musical warrior. But the silver hair, weary eyes, and slower steps leave fans quietly emotional. David Bowie. David Bowie wasn't just loved, he was worshipped as a mystical figure in music. With sharp eyes, a strikingly unique face, and an androgynous beauty, Bowie broke every rule in songs like Starman, Space Oddity, and Heroes. In 2016, at age 69, he quietly left the world after a long battle with cancer. Freddie Mercury. Freddie was the definition of a rock star, his voice a hurricane, his face chiseled, and his stage presence unmatched. From Bohemian Rhapsody to We Are the Champions. Tragically, he passed away far too soon from AIDS at just 45. Elton John, from fiery red capes to dazzling glasses. Elton John became the beloved symbol of eccentric brilliance, a master storyteller through Your Song and Rocket Man. Now, 78, he's wrapped up his music career with a grand farewell tour. Still the flashy Elton, but behind the spotlight stands a much quieter gentleman. Eric Clapton. Few have made the guitar weep like Eric Clapton. With a calm presence, sorrowful gaze, and magical hands, he poured pure emotion into tears in heaven. Now 79, Clapton remains inseparable from his guitar. Though his once bright eyes have dimmed with illness, and his snowy white hair bears the traces of time. Billy Joel. Through Piano Man, Billy Joel became a drifting storyteller of life-sharp eyes, tousled brown hair, and a half-smirk that was both sad and defiant, making him a loyal companion in the hearts of millions. At 75, Billy is bald and heavier than before, but the moment he sits at the piano and sings, "Sing Us a Song." Bob Dylan. It wasn't his looks, but his rebel spirit and razor-sharp words that made Bob Dylan the voice of a generation. In Like a Rolling Stone, he was both cool and fierce, a legend loved for never compromising. Now, 83, Dylan quietly releases new albums. His voice rougher than ever, his hair wild, and his skin wrinkled. He roams the digital age like a wandering sage. Neil Young. Neil Young was the soul of the lonely, his messy long hair, skinny figure, and trembling voice in Heart of Gold made people love him for his raw sincerity. At 78, Neil lives a quiet life away from the spotlight. But every time his harmonica plays, it's as if the wandering poet of the past returns. Roger Daltrey. With a fierce gaze and a body like a statue, Roger Daltrey wasn't just The Who's frontman. He was the face of an era that dared to live and scream out loud. In Won't Get Fooled Again, he swung his mic like a warrior, pulling the crowd into his wild heartbeat. Now 80 Roger still performs with fire, though his hair is cloud white, and his once strong shoulders now carry the weight of memory. Steven Tyler. Every time Steven Tyler screamed in Dream On or Walk This Way, the world went wild, from his flowing long hair and chiseled face to his famously flamboyant outfits. At 76, he still performs with incredible energy, but with his gaunt face, sunken eyes, and deeply lined skin, the legendary bad boy now appears as a fragile old man carrying a universe of memories. Jimmy Page. The man who made guitars sound like myth and magic in Stairway to Heaven, Jimmy Page was once revered as a musical sorcerer with mysterious eyes, long curly hair, and a cool, untouchable vibe. Now, 81, he lives quietly, rarely performing anymore. His aged face and slow steps speak volumes about time past. Keith Richards. With the look of a rebel who just walked out of the fire, Keith Richards is the living spirit of raw, reckless rock. And yet against all odds at age 80, he's still alive, still rocking, having survived decades of addiction and near-death accidents. It almost defies belief. Phil Collins, in the Air Tonight. Phil Collins emerged from the shadows, his face cold, and the drums pounding like thunder. He wasn't just the soul of Genesis, but a silent, powerful icon. Today, at 73, he's bound to a wheelchair due to nerve and spinal issues. Though he can no longer hold the drums, just his presence on stage moves audiences to tears, a quiet monument growing old. George Harrison. Quiet and profound. George Harrison never needed the spotlight. With soulful eyes, a gentle smile, and melodies like Something That Melted Hearts, he was the most beloved piece of the Beatles' puzzle. He passed away in 2001 at the age of 58 after a long battle with cancer. Peter Frampton. With bouncy curls, blue eyes, and a guitar that felt like part of his body, Peter Frampton was the rock prince of the 70s, especially when he sang Baby, I Love Your Way. Now 74, he's fighting a muscle disorder that makes playing guitar harder every day. Every time he hits the stage, he smiles and plays like he's lost nothing at all. Rick Springfield. With movie star looks and a fiery voice in Jesse's Girl, Rick Springfield became the ultimate boy-next-door heartthrob. At 75, he still tours regularly, but few know he's battled years of mental health struggles. His ability to overcome that darkness is part of why he's loved even more today. Robert Plant. Robert Plant was pure, sensual chaos, long golden hair flying in the wind, piercing eyes, and a smoldering body that turned him into rock's sex god with hits like Whole Lotta Love. Now 76, he still has that rugged mystique, but he's quieter now, having turned down chances to reunite Led Zeppelin. Daryl Hall. No need for rebellion. Daryl Hall won hearts with calm charm. His sweet voice, thoughtful eyes, and stylish aura lit up You Make My Dreams. Now 78, he still sings with the grace of a gentleman, though time has left its marks. He once said, "I'm not as handsome as I was, but I still know how to make people feel loved." Sting. Sting was the definition of intellectual seduction from Every Breath You Take to Roxanne. He blended a sculpted physique, sharp gaze, and artistic depth into a man both mysterious and magnetic. At 73, he's still in shape and confident on stage, but behind the glow, there were shadows too. As his private affairs once made headlines, Chris Cornell. With sorrowful eyes and a voice that sounded like a cry from the abyss in Black Hole Sun, Chris Cornell embodied the allure of darkness, breathtakingly beautiful. He passed away suddenly in 2017 at the age of 52 after years of struggling with depression and addiction. Michael Hutchence. A raspy voice, burning eyes, and an electrifying stage presence. Michael Hutchence was the fiery soul of INXS, captivating audiences worldwide with Need You Tonight and Never Tear Us Apart. Sadly, he left us forever at the young age of 37. Jon Bon Jovi, with voluminous blonde hair, a sunshine-bright smile, and a blazing voice in Livin' on a Prayer. Jon Bon Jovi was the heartthrob on every girl's bedroom wall. Now 62, he still carries that same charm, but his hair has turned silver, and his voice no longer carries the same fire it once did. David Gilmour. David Gilmour never needed to scream just one guitar note in Comfortably Numb could silence an entire room. With calm eyes, brown hair, and a quiet presence, he drew people in. At 78, he lives peacefully with his family and still performs occasionally, his hair now pure white. His frame a little heavier, Ben Orr, with a sculpted face, deep eyes, and a signature stage stillness. Ben Orr was the quiet yet captivating member of the Cars, the voice behind the haunting love ballad Drive. He passed away at 53 due to pancreatic cancer. David Lee Roth. Leaping mid-air under blazing lights, David Lee Roth was a wild storm in Van Halen, long blonde hair, ripped physique, and the ultimate bad boy attitude in Jump and Panama. Now 69, David lives in seclusion with a frail figure, white hair, and a face almost unrecognizable from his glory days. Paul Rodgers, with a strong voice, kind eyes, and a no-frills style. Paul Rodgers was the man who sang like thunder in hits like All Right Now and Feel Like Makin' Love. Today, at 74, he still holds on to that vocal strength, though time has clearly marked his features. John Fogerty. Messy brown hair, a plaid shirt, and a voice that burned raw in Fortunate Son made John Fogerty a beloved icon of America's blue-collar soul. At 79, he still clutches his guitar and sings like there's no tomorrow, even as his appearance shows the weight of the years. David Coverdale. David Coverdale wasn't just a singer. He was the definition of powerful seduction, with every line of Here I Go Again, from his golden curls and blue eyes to his gentlemanly flair. Now 72, he lives a quieter life, his hair turned silver, and his face etched by time. Peter Gabriel. On stage with Genesis. Peter Gabriel wasn't just a vocalist. He was a theatrical performer with strange costumes and a voice that sounded alien, especially in Solsbury Hill and In Your Eyes. At 74, he still appears now and then, with deep-set eyes and a fuller face that reflects the wisdom of age. Sting, with his cool demeanor, chiseled body, and brooding gaze. Sting was once known as Britain's silent seducer. The world fell under his spell with the love anthem, "Every Breath You Take." Now 73, Sting still maintains an enviable physique and a timeless sense of style. Mike Love. During the Beach Boys' golden years, Mike Love was the familiar face, sun-kissed blonde hair, a playful yet gentle smile, and a voice that felt like sunshine in Wouldn't It Be Nice? Today at 83, he still performs with the band, though his hair is snowy white, his smile slower, and his voice softer than it once was. Bob Seger, with a gritty, gravelly voice, rooted in the American heartland. Bob Seger made everyone feel seen in songs like Night Moves and Turn the Page. His rugged face, seasoned eyes, and raw sincerity resonated deeply. Now 79, Bob has stepped back from touring and embraced a quiet life. Ian Gillan. That powerhouse voice in Smoke on the Water earned Ian Gillan his status as one of rock's all-time greats: long hair, stern eyes, and fierce presence. At 78, he still performs, though his hair has turned fully white and his once strong frame has softened. Steve Perry. With a baby face, a warm smile, and that soaring voice in Open Arms and Don't Stop Believin'. Steve Perry was hailed as the golden voice of American rock. After years out of the spotlight, he returned gray-haired, visibly aged, but with a voice and emotion that never left. Joe Walsh. And just the right amount of crazy Joe Walsh became beloved not just for his blazing guitar in Life's Been Good, but also for his wild humor and eccentric charm. Now 76, he still brings high energy to the stage, though his silver mane and puffier face show the march of time. Lindsey Buckingham, the quiet soul of Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey won hearts with his tousled curls, melancholy gaze, and raw guitar work in Go Your Own Way. Now 74, after multiple heart surgeries and parting ways with the iconic band, he continues to write and tour solo. Don Felder. With his flowing blonde hair and smooth charisma, Don Felder was the gentleman in the shadows of the Eagles, the man behind the legendary guitar solo in Hotel California. Now 77, he rarely appears in public, his hair now silver, his eyes calm, but when he plays, it feels like the golden roads of old America come alive again. David Byrne. David Byrne was always the curious kind of artist, weird cool with robot-like dance moves in Once in a Lifetime, and that iconic oversized gray suit that rocked MTV. At 72, he's still delightfully eccentric white spiky hair, a mischievous twinkle in his eye, and dance moves no one can explain. Adam Ant, with heavy eyeliner, a navel jacket, tiny braids, and a rebellious stare. Adam Ant was the wild fashion icon and sex symbol of 80s Britain. Now, 69, he lives quietly and occasionally re-emerges with the same bold style, but his face now carries deep lines, and his eyes have grown more introspective. Barry Gibb, with his voluminous hair, thick beard, and signature falsetto in Stayin' Alive. Barry Gibb was the heart of the Bee Gees. Now, 78, he's the last surviving brother. His hair is white. His eyes carry quiet sorrow. And his smile turns wistful whenever Maurice and Robin are mentioned. Roger Taylor. Queen's drummer didn't just play drums. Roger Taylor drove fans wild with his handsome face, platinum hair, and a noble rock aura in tracks like Radio Gaga and I'm in Love with My Car. At 75, Roger lives more privately now. his face lined with age and his once sparkling eyes dimmer. Paul Stanley, as Kiss's frontman. Paul Stanley was dubbed the painted face hero by millions decked out in tight leather, bare chest, and explosive stage energy in Love Gun and I Was Made for Lovin' You. At 72, he still performs in full makeup, but behind it are tired eyes and a face that no longer beams with the same youthful fire. James Taylor. James Taylor never needed to be flashy. His soft guitar strums and warm voice in Fire and Rain made him a beloved storyteller. Like someone singing just for you in a quiet room. Now, 76, he still performs regularly, balding, aged, and moving at a slower pace. John Mellencamp. With a rugged face, raspy voice, and blue-collar swagger in Jack and Diane and Pink Houses, John Mellencamp was once the voice of working-class America. At 73, he still carries that same edge, though his features now show the wear of life. John Oates, with his signature mustache, messy curls, and a mix of humor and charm. John Oates was the quieter half of Hall & Oates, but no less loved turning songs like Man-Eater and Out of Touch into pop rock staples. Now, 76, John remains devoted to music, though his look has changed: short hair, a deeply lined face, and more contemplative eyes. Tom Petty. Tom Petty was cherished for his classic, wandering beauty, slim, dreamy-eyed, with a voice like wind sweeping across open fields in Free Fallin' and Learning to Fly. He passed away suddenly in 2017 at the age of 66 after years of illness. Jackson Browne. With a somber face, long brown hair, and songwriting that read like a diary of the soul, Jackson Browne became the quiet romantic the world adored in Running on Empty. And these days, today at 75, he still writes and performs his hair, now gray, his smile more reserved. Dion DiMucci, a rock and roll icon of the early 60s. Dion made Hearts Race with Runaround Sue and The Wanderer slicked back hair, a cocky stare, and a warm voice that made him America's favorite bad boy. Now, 85, Dion still appears with a fedora and dark glasses, the stylish aura of an old-school Italian gentleman intact. Daryl Hall, never loud or wild. Daryl Hall won over audiences with his elegant golden blonde hair, warm eyes, and a silky voice in Sarah Smile and You Make My Dreams. Now 78, he still graces the stage, his hair still long, now silver, and his expression more serene than ever. Kevin Cronin. Kevin Cronin was the heart of REO Speedwagon with messy brown hair, a soaring voice, and a gentle charm that made fans fall in love from the first note of Can't Fight This Feeling. Now 72, Kevin still performs with that familiar smile, though his voice has lost some of its lift and his eyes reveal deep fatigue. Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam. With a delicate face and eyes full of wisdom, Cat Stevens mesmerized listeners through ballads like Father and Son and Wild World songs that felt like whispers to the soul. After converting to Islam and taking the name Yusuf, he stepped away from the stage for many years. Now, 75, he has returned with silver hair, a long beard, and the most peaceful gaze of his life. David Gates. David Gates, the tender voice of bread, made millions of hearts ache with songs like Everything I Own and If. His scholarly looks made him every dreamer's musical sweetheart. Today, David lives in quiet seclusion, rarely seen in public anymore. Steve Howe. As the guitar wizard of Yes, Steve Howe enchanted audiences with his spellbinding technique in Roundabout and Mood for a Day. Now 77, he still performs regularly, though his thin frame and aging hands tell the story of time past. Ross Valerie. With curly hair, a bright smile, and an easygoing aura, Ross Valerie was the steady bass soul of Journey. Now 75, Ross has stepped away from the band after internal disputes, but his passion for music still burns strong. Mark Farner, ripped muscles, long hair, and a street cowboy look made Mark Farner a rock sex symbol of the 70s with Grand Funk Railroad and hits like Some Kind of Wonderful. Now 76, Mark continues to perform solo, though his body is no longer as built and his hair has turned silver. Ian Hunter, with round sunglasses, wild hair, and an unpredictable flair. Ian Hunter of Mott the Hoople was Britain's most beloved eccentric, especially when all the young dudes rang out. Now, 85, Ian is still writing music and recently released a new album. John Lodge. With soulful eyes and a classically British scholarly look, John Lodge was the steady anchor of the moody blues, delivering tender ballads like Isn't Life Strange that defined an entire decade. At 79, John still performs quietly, reviving those old love songs that move audiences to tears. David Essex. David Essex once made the UK swoon with his dreamy eyes, messy romantic hair, and husky voice in Rock On. Now 77, David has all but disappeared from the spotlight. Gary Brooker. The haunting voice behind A Whiter Shade of Pale made Gary Brooker beloved for his elegant sadness, premature silver hair, a melancholy face, and the refined aura of a man who looked like he stepped out of a vintage portrait. Gary passed away in 2022, leaving a quiet ache in the hearts of Procol Harum fans everywhere. Gary Wright. With Dreamweaver, Gary Wright took listeners on a journey through the deepest dreamscapes. His misty voice, dreamy eyes, and quiet presence made his music feel like a trance. Gary passed away in 2023 after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. Mark Lindsay. Mark Lindsay was once the classic Heartthrobs slicked-back hair, stylish mustache, and an upbeat voice in Indian Reservation. Now 82, he still appears at nostalgic shows, though the youthful spark now hides behind sunglasses and loose-fitting jackets. Ronnie Montrose, a powerhouse guitarist with fierce energy and the look of a rock warrior. Ronnie Montrose was once called an electric cowboy of American hard rock. He passed away in 2012 after a long fight with cancer and depression. Peter Murphy. With sharp features, a surreal gaze, and a voice as dark as midnight, Peter Murphy became the godfather of Gothic rock with Bauhaus. Now, 67, he lives reclusively, only making rare appearances, still haunting, still magnetic. Fans don't seek the handsome Peter of the past. They come for the myth. Gary Richrath, the powerful guitarist of REO Speedwagon. Gary Richrath was admired for his intense presence, flowing hair, and relentless playing style. He passed away in 2015 at the age of 65. Dennis Wilson, the wild, seductive bad boy of the Beach Boys. Dennis Wilson had ocean-deep eyes and a beauty that felt like sea wind, both drummer and rebel soul, capturing hearts in songs like Forever and Little Bird. He drowned in 1983 at just 39 years old. Mick Ronson, the gifted guitarist who stood beside David Bowie. Mick Ronson enchanted the world with his cool demeanor, golden hair, and a distinctly British rock star aura. He died of cancer in 1993. Elvis Presley, with impossibly good looks, slicked hair, piercing eyes, and a voice that embraced the world, Elvis was the uncrowned king of a generation. Every time Can't Help Falling in Love played. He died in 1977, at age 42, after years of mental health struggles. Billy Idol, spiked platinum hair, studded leather, fiery eyes, and a sneering grin. Billy Idol lit the 80s on fire with Rebel Yell and Dancing with Myself. Now, 68, he still storms the stage with blazing energy, a fit body, and that same untamed attitude. Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis had the everyman charm-wide smile, strong voice, and the vibe of a friendly neighbor who just happened to sing The Power of Love like a superstar. Now 74. Huey rarely performs due to hearing loss, but remains widely adored. And then, the music fades. The stage lights dim, but those names, those faces that once captivated the world, live on forever in our memories. Some have grown old, others have left us, but their brightest moments are still alive in your heart, right now. If you've ever loved a melody, ever been moved by a look, drop a comment with the name of the star who touched you the most. And let's share this love for music with even more people. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another trip down memory lane.